Good afternoon and good morning. Thank you for joining in today's presentation on Word mail merges. The session today will be presented by Stacy Olson. And here's a little bit of information about your trainer, Stacy Olson. And now I'm going to pass the mic over to Stacy, who will conduct the session today.
So, hello. It's great to be here. I am coming to you from the Vancouver location of CTC, and the fog is just lifting off the bay, and we are headed for a beautiful sunny day here in Vancouver. So, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. And I am here to talk to you about mail merge. So, I'm going to come into my Word here, and we'll get going. So mail merge is the type of thing that you would use if you wanted to send personalized letters or personalized emails. And let me tell you, when I first learned about mail merge, I thought that this was the most brilliant thing ever. It has saved me immense amounts of time. Any time that I have ever sent a letter to, hundreds of people in an association, sending them a membership letter, mail merge would have been the perfect option. And recently, I have used email mail merge quite a bit. So I have discovered that email mail merge is awesome when you're sending emails out to your followers, maybe your Twitter followers, or maybe to a quick email to all of your members. So mail merge is really a benefit. Oh. So I'm just going to click over here and share my screen. Perfect. So now you should be seeing my Word document here. And so I've created a little letter. And my letter is ready to go out. I've written it. It's got my lovely logo up at the top. And, I've already typed in, who it's going to. Of course, the lovely Johnny Depp. So I've done, I've done the work to create the letter. And now I want to send it out to all the people that that it needs to go out to. So mail merge is what I'm going to do. So when we start with mail merge, we're going to need two items. You're going to need the actual letter that you're using, or the document. And you're also going to need your own data source. And so the data source is a list of all the names and addresses and all that sort of information that you will be using. And so this data source can be found in any number of places. It can be an Excel file, which is often what happens. Many times people are exporting contacts from an Outlook or from another mail provider. And so the information is held in a Excel folder, Excel workbook. And you can also collect data straight from Outlook, from your contact list in Outlook, and I'll walk through all of these as well. Also, even if you haven't created a data source list, you do have the ability to actually create it right here, right now in Word. So as we are sitting here looking at our letter, I'm going to walk you through the place that we go to do the mailing, the mail merge. So right on top of our ribbon in the Mailings tab, I'll just walk you through a few of the buttons that are going on here. And we're really going to maintain this ribbon to do the whole complete mail merge from start to finish. The very first two options, the very first group here, envelopes and labels, is actually about creating envelopes and labels. And that is not particularly part of mail merge, but Outlook is trying to group things together, or sorry, I should say Microsoft Office is trying to group things together, part of their ribbon feature. So this is where the envelopes and labels have ended up. If you were to type out envelopes and labels, this is where you would go. But we're not going to touch those today. I will show you how to make labels and envelopes using the mail merge. And so this is where we are starting, in the Start Mail Merge group. So in the Start Mail Merge group, we've got our very first button, Start Mail Merge, and this is where we would decide which type of information we're dealing with. We then move over and we would select our recipients, or we would be selecting the data source where all of the contact information is located. We would then move over, and as you can see, these buttons all for the rest of this are contextual information. They're not available to us right now because we currently haven't started a mail merge or selected any recipients yet. But as we move along, you'll notice that these options will all come available to us. We would then go in and edit our recipient list. So all kinds of edits and quick little changes can happen right here in Word. We don't have to keep sort of moving back and forth between the original data source, which would be in your Outlook contacts or in an Excel file. We can do it all right here in Word. The next section, the next grouping here, is highlighting merged fields. Just to show you what it is in your document. When you're dealing with a lot of information, it is really nice and quick and easy to be able to focus in on specific fields that have been replaced with the new data. We can change in information. We can sort of deal with a whole address block. So instead of just looking at specific parts, here I've got Johnny Depp and his address. Instead of dealing with each one of these as separate pieces, we can deal with this as a complete address block, which is really handy. We're also going to deal with adding a greeting line, which would be this Dear Johnny Depp aspect down here. And we're also going to have the ability to insert other fields as necessary. So I'm going to show you that down here at the very bottom of my letter. I've used Johnny's name again. And we're going to talk today about matching fields, because that is a key part to making this process as quick as possible. And we will deal with updating labels when we talk about using mail merge to create labels, or hello, my name is, stickers, badges, that sort of thing. We're also going to be using, in this grouping here, we're definitely going to be using preview the results. This is the most handy aspect of the mail merge, is the ability to see all of the changes that you've created in your document and sort of scroll through. We can also search and find a particular person, check for errors, and then finally, when we're satisfied with all the information and everything is correct and we are ready to go, we then finish off with the finish and merge. So there's some options here that we'll go through. To start off with, let's, as we get into this, I want to describe, first of all, there's a very big difference between variable text and constant text. So when I'm dealing with my letter that I've written here, the variable text are the things that are going to change in our, when we do a mail merge. And so I am just going to take the moment right now just to highlight these things. You don't have to do this when you go in and do your mail merge, but I'm going to take the time just to highlight them and show you. These highlighted options, items, are going to be changed into field codes, and I'll tell you what that is, and I'll show you all about that. So this is the variable content, the variable text, and the body of my email is, of course, the constant text, and that's not going to change. You'll notice that I do have a spelling mistake in here that's been highlighted by Word, and we're not going to worry about that too much now. I want to show you a little bit later on how we can troubleshoot. So I'm going to leave this spelling mistake in here just so that we can see what happens if we realize right before we're about to send in our mail merge, oh my goodness, there's a spelling mistake. Let's stop here and make sure that you're not sending out one spelling mistake across the board to all 100 people that you're going to print this letter or email this letter out to. So right now, what I've done is I've just talked about the variable text and the constant text, and now let's actually get in and start and do our mail merge. So right now I've got a normal letter, but as soon as I click on this Start Mail Merge button, I do have some options. I can tell the computer, tell Microsoft Word that I'm creating a letter. I can tell it that I'm doing an email message. This is where we would go in to do envelopes and labels using the mail merge. And there's also something called a directory, which if we have time today, I will show you that. Right now you can see that the Word normal document is what's highlighted. We're in a normal situation right now. Watch what happens when I click on letters. Not too much is going to change, but when I come back up here and check, you'll see that letters is highlighted. So I know for sure that I am actually dealing with a mail merge letter. So now I've told my Word document that I want to start this mail merge. I'm dealing with a letter, but now I have to actually connect this letter with the data source. So this is where all of the names and addresses are going to come into play. So I come on over and I say, select my recipients. This is where I'm choosing the list of people. Click down. Now there's 3 options here. And as I was, when I was trained on how to do mail merges, the person sort of suggested that the options are listed in opposite order of importance, and I happen to agree. My first choice is always selecting from my Outlook contacts. It is the most streamlined way to use mail merge. But of course, not everybody has Outlook, and sometimes you're using an extracted list of contacts and information. So there is this Use Existing List option, and so that's when you're going to go and find a list, a data source list on your computer, and hook it up that way. And of course, there is this option to actually, in Word, to start typing and create a new list. And I'll mention how that works when we get to that area. But for now, let's go and select from our Outlook contacts. We're going to click here, and what pops up is my list of Outlook contacts. So just to show you what's going on, I'm going to pop on over to my Outlook, and here you see I'm in my contacts listing, and of course Outlook has its suggested contacts. I still can never figure out who they think I should be suggested to be connected with. But anyway, here's my contact list. And I have my 9 people. I'm a very small business, and so I've got my 9 people, and these are all the people that I would like to send my list to. Now, of course, when you're in Outlook and you are loading all your contacts all the time, and really it is handy to be using Outlook. This is the part of the Windows Office suite that is meant to hold all this type of information. So you do have the option also to create sort of sub-contact folder lists as well. So there, maybe there's only 5 of these people that I want to be regularly sending out information to, and I can always create a sub-contact list and move those people over into that as well. For now, we're just going to go back to Word, and we're just going to use that contact list. You'll see it bears my count of how many people I have in my contact list, and you'll see that the computer that I'm on is the location where those contacts are found. So I'm going to say OK, and boom, Microsoft does its thinking, and what it comes up with is this Mail Merge Recipient pop-up box. And there's a lot of information in here, and this is where we do a lot of, you can do some editing in here of the information, but this is a nice list to show you what's going to be used for your mail merge. And so of course you have the option here. This is my data sources listed in my contacts, and I have the option to click maybe 1, 2, all of them. They're all currently right now listed by last name, and I can of course sort that by ascending and change it. Maybe I want to sort by the company as well. I also have this sort feature down here when I can refine the recipient list. And this sort feature, so I can sort by company, Then by last, I can change these things. Maybe I want to sort by the first name. Then by last, I hit OK. Everything changes in my recipient list. This is a nice way to just sort of get an overview of what contacts you are going to be connecting with this mail merge. The filter option is also quite nice. I can filter and just pick certain people. So just to give you a view of how this works, I'm going to choose the field country region, and I'm going to compare it to, I'm only going to send emails, let's say, to Canada, or the letters to the people in Canada. So unfortunately, there's nobody listed. Okay, so we're going to filter back. Didn't work for us. We're going to come back up, hit OK. We can scooch over and double check and see our country region didn't show up. There was no information, so that's why that sorting feature didn't actually help us. So let's go back in and filter, and let's filter by, I don't know, let's see, we can filter by the company name, and let's say I only want to send to the one person who is in the company named Friends. Of course, that's Jennifer Aniston from Long Days Ago. And there we go, filter back. So this just gives you an option to show you how the filtering works and how you can change it and modify. So let's say you're dealing with 3,000 people on your contact list, but you really just want to get certain people in certain provinces or certain people in certain companies. This filter feature is a really nice way to do that quickly and easily. So I'm showing all of my contacts again. There is no filter, and they are currently sorted by first and last name. Pull that down just so you can see by first and last name. So we say OK. Now there is an option down here to edit and refresh, but currently we have to tell it what data source we're dealing with. So there's some information in here. We can refresh. Maybe we've gone back into our Outlook contacts, into this original data source, over into our Outlook, and maybe we've changed some information or updated some information in here. And so when that happens, we want to come back in, and that's when we want to say refresh, and it will go and collect the new information for us. So at this point, we've connected. We've got our letter, we've connected the data source, and we've done a little bit of editing. And of course, we can come back to that editing list just by clicking Edit Recipient List, the next button on that group, and work our way through there. At this point, I highly recommend saving the document. And so I normally do this, File, Save As. I do want to save it as a new item, because this is the file now that has been connected to a data source. And so I typically name this one Merged, and just save it as so. So now that I know every time I open up this particular document, it's going to be connected to this data. So just to show you how that happens, because oftentimes you've already connected the information, connected the data source, but you still have some work to do on the email. So let's just show what actually happens. If I close this Word document out, come back in, and I want to actually open that the same letter, which is this merged Golden Globe letter. I'm going to open that up, and it gives me a dialog box here to say, opening this document will run the following command. And so it's telling me that this particular document is connected to a data. I don't really need too much to worry about the details of this data, this dialog box, but I do need to know that either if I say no, I break the connection forever and ever with this data source. But if I say yes and click yes, I'm saying yes, I know that this particular document is connected to a data source, and the document is actually going to go and retrieve that data and maintain that connection. So you just want to say, yes, I know, and yes, confirm that that is the correct place where I'm collecting my data. And we say yes, and here we are. I'm just going to close out this. That's just a pop-up box we don't need to worry about right now. So now you know how to open up a document, a merged document that you may have to continue working on, and you know how to actually connect your data source. So let's go in and actually let's play around with what does it look like to actually do the mail merge. Right now I have highlighted all of my variable text, and I'm just for sake of argument going to go and unhighlight that right now, just so that we can carry on our way. And what I'm going to do at this point is come back to our mailings, and we're going to deal with this next section. So we're writing and inserting the fields, and this is the field codes that I mentioned before. So we're going to turn all of this information, the variable information, into field codes. So watch as we do that now. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to highlight this whole section and click Address Box. The address box comes up with this dialog box, and we are inserting a whole entire address block, so we have to sort of walk through the steps here and confirm with the little window over on the right hand side that what the information we're choosing from the left hand side is what's going to show up in our mail merge document. So we have the option here to change what type of name that we want to deal with. We could just be dealing with their first name, and you notice that it changes to Bob from Company B. Or we could change and use Bob Smith with the whole name. If we were using titles, we could use the Mr. Bob Smith, and that would show up. In my original data source, there are no titles listed, so I know I don't really need that one. We also have the option to go with the, and then the family name, and then the word family at the end, which is a nice option if you were sending something to a family, such as an invite to a fabulous event, maybe the Golden Globes, if we were the rich and famous. So for right now, I'm actually going to use the regular full name, and you'll notice that the junior is also available as well. And I could choose to insert or not insert the company name, whichever I would like. I'm going to choose for now to actually insert the company name just so we get a really good idea. There's also the option to insert the postal address, and we can then deal with information extra to this. So never include the country region in the address, always include the country region in the address, and only include the country region if it's different from, and in this case it's United States, but let's just say here we are in Canada. Let's say if it's different from Canada, and let's see what happens there. Format address according to the destination country region. Certainly that might be something that we would want to look into. So after we've made all our choices here on the left hand side, let's just scroll through and just see how some of these things work out from our mail merge data source. And as you can see, I can see the addresses coming out quite nicely. And we'll go back to the beginning, all the way to the end again, go through. So we're going to say, okay, let's give this a go. Let's see what happens when we click OK. So off we go. What has happened is that we've been given an address block. Now, notice that there's a very specific way of writing this, and it has to be inserted. Note to self. It has to be inserted. You can't type this in. It actually needs to go through the process, and of course there's lots going on in the background of mail merge, so you'll definitely want to be using all of the inserting options here, the one-click options for inserting. So now I can actually delete all the rest of my address and just leave it as this address block. This is the variable text that will, the field code that will change according to the information that I have fed it in my data source. At this point, I'm going to pause because I'm thinking to myself, gosh, I don't know if this is going to work out. So let's go and preview the results. Let's see what happens. So I can click preview, and you notice that it's a sticky tab, which means that it stays highlighted up in the ribbon, and it will continue to show me this information until I unclick preview results. So as I click through, I'm going to start at the beginning and just kind of sort through and make sure that everything looks on the up and up. It's got everything that I need. Looks pretty good. And I can go through each one if I'd like. Or if I know that maybe I'm dealing with thousands of names and that sort of thing, but I know that there's maybe a couple of the address information for a few people. Maybe I know that some of the information isn't quite right, and so I can do a find. So right underneath our searching back and forth, click find, and let's find Jennifer. And find it in this field, in the first name, or of course I can find it in one of these. Find the next one, and it instantly brings me to that name, that contact in my mail merge. I can close that out, and of course you see the number as it goes through my list, all the way through my contacts here. So I'm going to unpreview just for a second and take you to show you another thing that's really a good idea to check in with. And if you notice when you were doing the preview that you had some errors and some things weren't matching up, this is where you'd want to come. You'd want to come and check out match fields. So in match fields, we are dealing with, on the left-hand side, we're dealing with all of the names that Microsoft Word uses to create its field codes. And on the right-hand side, we've got all these drop-down lists, and you'll see that here, address 2 is not matched. Oftentimes you'll see a lot of these that are not matched, and it's because the data source that you have hooked up your mail merge document to, either Microsoft Word couldn't find a match that seemed to fit. So sometimes you have to come in here and actually match things. But we see title, courtesy title is what Word calls it. Title is what it is listed in my contacts. First name, Word has matched that with first in my Outlook contacts. Middle name matched up with middle name, last suffix, and you see everything kind of goes through quite nicely here. Here is where you'd want to actually find and click down the list to find out what is it that, if something wasn't matched up, that you could match up. And I highly recommend that you try and match as many things as possible, because once your document is merged with this data, you may actually be able to go in and create new letters and update letters and resend and reprint letters. And so I highly recommend that you match as many of the fields as possible so that in the future you don't have these error messages coming up or things not matching up in the right order. So definitely come in and check the match fields, especially if when you're previewing your results in the mail merge you find some errors or some things are in the wrong places there. So we'll say OK. And let's go back. We've dealt with an address block. We see it here. Let's go and talk about the greeting line. So the greeting line is this whole section here, including the comma. And you'll see that's when we get in and we click greeting line. So another dialog box pops up, very similar to the address block pop-up box. Boy, I say that 10 times fast. And so here we have the option to change all kinds of things about the greeting. And down here in sort of the center of this dialog box is where we get to preview what we're seeing in our real mail merge. So we can choose dear or to or none, of course. I'm going to leave it at dear. The Golden Globe Awards would like to be, you know, very sentimental about their actors and actresses. We can choose for just to use the title. And I think we're going to go, I'm going to use the first name in this situation because it's going in our greeting line here, and I think sending it to the first name is appropriate in this case. And here we have the option of choosing a comma, a colon, or nothing, no punctuation at all. I'm going to leave it at a comma. That works for me. Now, what happens if there's a situation in your contact list where, let's say you have a company name, but you don't have a person name? So in this case, this is where we would deal with that situation. So this is where we choose the greeting line for an invalid recipient name. So in this case, I could choose Dear Sir or Madame, to whom it may concern, or nothing at all. I'm going to leave it as Dear Sir or Madame. And at this point, I'm going to just preview some of my options here and go through and see, yeah, they look pretty good. Most things look pretty nice. Okay, sounds good. And of course, if I realized that there were some errors in here, I could come and actually click Match Fields, where we got to match up all of those field codes between Word and our data source, and I can have an easy access to that here as well. So we're going to click OK, and we're going to see what happens. Boom, our greeting line gets inserted. And now I'm actually going to delete this as including the comma, because of course remember the comma is part of our greeting line. And now we're actually going to deal with the bulk, the body of my email. And I'm going to have an option to insert specific fields. So I know that my contact's name is used again towards the end of the email, and of course that makes it seem very personable and helps to create a letter or a piece of mail that is much nicer to read. Probably get a lot more responses back. So here we are, insert mail, insert merge field, and I now have a whole list of fields that I would like to add, or could add. So let's say I could add the company name in this place. I could go in and add their phone number if I wanted to send out a letter saying, please confirm that this is your phone number with our data. I can, maybe I wanted to send out a sales letter, and I wanted to say that maybe our trainers were coming to your particular state or your particular province, and this is where I could update that information. There's lots of options depending on what's in your data source. And so here we go. In this case, we are just picking the first name, and you'll notice because I had actually highlighted the whole first name from my email or from my letter here, and it has replaced it with the actual field code. So at this point, you'll notice that Highlight Merge Fields is now contextual information that is available to me. It's not grayed out, so I'm going to click that and just show you. And this is it. Folks, we have done it. We have created the basics of a mail merge letter. And you'll notice that all of this information is loaded up. Now I can go through and of course do my edits and proofreading here as well. And you'll notice that all kinds of things can be changed, of course, because we're still in a regular Word document. I'm going to actually click now and just preview the results and see how this works, and just kind of scroll through a few of them and double check it, and I think things look fairly good. I would want to be double checking that I have the proper punctuation, and I would want to be double checking that all the information is showing that I want it to, or that I can remove certain information, of course, at any point in time. So I can come back to my address block here and actually say, oh, I don't want to insert the company name. Click OK. Preview the results again. Sorry, we've added an extra address block because of our cursor was in a particular space. So be very careful that these things happen. So you do want to keep in line and know what's going on, what's happening, what. So let's actually just see what's going to happen with this preview. So obviously it's repeating itself, and I know that because I am previewing. So come back and just take out the one that you don't need. Highlight, delete, let's preview, let's see, and of course now my company name isn't showing. So there's also the opportunity sometimes when this information gets merged in and you're previewing the results, there is sometimes a situation where some of this data has come in a different font or that sort of thing, and you do have the option here of changing these types of things. So here we are. You can do some changing here, make it bigger, smaller, that sort of thing. All right. So we are actually ready to preview our situation, and actually, we've previewed the situation, we've looked through, and now we are actually going to auto-check for errors. This is just a quick way to let Microsoft Office do a little help for us, and what we come up with is 3 options. Simulate the merge and report errors in a new document, which is usually the one that I try. So I'm going to simulate the merge and just give me a pop-up box to tell me if there are any problems that I need to go in and deal with. There is then this complete the merge and pausing to report each error as it occurs. Now this is one that I do not recommend very often unless you're dealing with a small group of contacts to be sending to. And at this point, when you click this button and click OK, it's going to run through each one, and every time there's an error, you're going to have to sit there and click through. So this is why I don't recommend this one. But I do recommend this. Complete the merge without pausing, but just tell me where the errors are at the very end, and I'll go and fix them after the fact. But for now, let's just simulate the merge and report the errors in a new document. So we click, and lucky for us, no mail merge errors have been found. We say OK, fabulous. And at this point, all of the fun stuff has happened, and really, it's sort of, I have to admit, it's a little bit deflating doing this, finishing the merge, because it's really quite a small, after all this work that you've done, it's really quite a small detail, and I feel like it should have some more panache, but it doesn't. It is very simple. We have 3 options here, and the first one is edit the individual document. Now this is the option you're going to want to check if you need to keep a record and save a record of these particular letters. Maybe you might need to reprint one to Bob Smith here in the future. And so this would allow you to actually save the document, and it will create a full new document for you, which you will save. And in this case, I have 9 contacts in this letter, and it will create a document that is 9 pages long, 1 for each letter. And in this option, the print documents, this print documents is actually going to go straight to your printer. It does not keep a record of all of this, even though your letter has been merged and it is connected to this data. It's not going to leave you any printable record of this. And sending an email message, we'll get to that really quickly here in a very short while. So for now, I'm going to click Edit the Individual Documents, and when I click that, it gives me a pop-up that tells me I want all of them, just a current record, or I can pick and choose between certain records. I'm going to click All, and watch what happens down at the bottom of my screen. You'll see that it has gone from page 1 of 1 into page 1 of 9, and you'll notice that my scroll bar, I can scroll through and see all of my letters are ready to be printed. Come back to my mailings, and here's where I see all of my information. Everything looks great. Oh, but I forgot to change that. No worries. Just close this document. Notice that none of this information on your ribbon is available because this is the final document. It is not actually a merged document. It is the final document. Pardon me. If everything was good and I liked it, I could save this document as final, which is what I normally do. But I noticed that there's an error, which I didn't pick up on before. I'm just going to close this. Don't save it. I didn't like it. And notice how you pop right back in to the regular, to your regular mail merge that we were working on before. Notice that. Now uncheck this. I'm going to deal with this and fix my spelling mistake there, and I'm just going to come back up, edit the individual documents, ready, click OK, boom, here it is. It's showing me everything. I noticed that there's an error message here that's popping up, and I know that that's not an error that I need to worry about. So here we are. I am ready to save this whole document. File, Save As, and this one I come up and I am going to save it to my desktop in my mail merge folder, and this one I'm going to call the merged _ Golden Globes letter, and I'm going to call this one final. And I click save, and there we go. I have a record of this document. I can print it, do whatever I like with it. For now, I'm going to close it to come back to my regular document that I've been working on this whole time, and I just want to show you how the print function works. Printing documents. It does come up with a dialog box, but I'll say, caution you right here, right now, biggest worry, the biggest problem that people have at this point is they hit OK and now they have to race to their printer. This is an immediate print function, so if you need special letterhead, if you need envelopes in the right way, labels in the right way, you definitely want to run to the printer first before clicking OK here. I'm going to close that up. So that's how you create a letter in Mail Merge, and I do want to just take the last 2 minutes, 3 minutes that we have just to show you what it would look like if we were going to do an email. It has a slightly different tone to it. So I'm going to click down onto my email here, or my Microsoft Word. I'm actually going to click on my email that I had already previously opened. So here I am, I've written up my email, and it's going to the mailing tab and finding that ribbon. All it is to repeat the same steps, but this time we're going to choose email messages. So here I change to email messages, and notice that my screen instantly sort of changes its format. That's just to notify me that we're dealing with an email. So this time I'm actually going to use an existing list. I'm actually going to find my list on my desktop in my Mail Merge folder. And here it is, it's just an Excel file. Click OK. I want it to be this contacts one. Click OK. Notice that not much has changed. All we've done is we've connected the data source. Let's go in and edit our recipient list again, and let's confirm that yes, we definitely want. Maybe we don't want Kermit the Frog this time. Let's take him out. We can sort and filter here again. Everything looks to be okay. Let's say okay. And here, of course, we can deal with address box, greeting lines, inserting the mail merge fields, etc. Now, we want to definitely make sure here, in this case, to match the fields, because the one that we really want to deal with is the email. So we want to double check that Word has collected the same field. So email addresses matched up with email address in my contact list. That sounds perfect. I say okay. All right. Here I'm going to use the person's first name, so I'm just going to insert a field, and I'm just going to click first name. There we go, instantly drops in the first name. And I've left a little space in my email down here to write about their name again. So, whoops, jumping ahead, here we go. So now I've got two first name, this is where it's going to, where we're going to go. Let's preview the results, and I can see that things look okay. Maybe I want another space in between there. We definitely want to double check that our punctuation is working out okay. So we can get rid of these if we want. We can leave them in. And of course we can scroll through and see how they change. Auto check for errors, we could do that. And here we are, we're going to merge and finish. I'm happy with the results. We're ready to merge and finish. Now, this is my hot tip of the day. I can be sending us email messages, yes. I do want to do that. And I'm going to send it to emails. I here get to choose the subject line, but before I click OK, I am going to go back to my Outlook. Because remember, this is similar to the print function. It's really going to rattle off every single one and email them right away. And so, to make sure that I am not going to send anything before I have the chance to look at it, I am actually going to click Work Offline. So this is our opportunity to work offline. I'm going to go back home, going to check out my mail, and you'll see when we go and send, it's going to sit in our outbox. So let's go back to our email. Let's do the subject line. Thank you. Let's not be yelling at them, of course. And we're going to choose all, and let's hit well, maybe I just want to choose 1 or 2. So let's go from record 1 to 3, and let's just check out 3 for an example. I'm going to hit OK. We're going to go back down to Outlook. Notice that I'm working on offline, and here they are sitting in my outbox. And let's just check. So there's my subject line, there's the email address that was picked up by Word, and my email looks pretty good. Perfect. So now I can actually go back and actually delete each one of these so that I can start again and do the whole thing while I work online. So there you go. You've seen the options for emails and for letters, and hopefully you will have a lot of success with this, and it will save you bundles and bundles of time. So at this point, I'm going to send the screen back to Laura here, and
Great, thanks, Stacy. Ladies and gentlemen, that does conclude the audio portion of our presentation today. Should you have any questions, please use the Q&A panel, and a representative will respond. Thanks so much for your time, and have a great day. Stacy, I don't know if you have a minute, but there is one question here that somebody put in about creating a data source. I don't know if you have any time to address that.
Yes. Okay, so creating a data source is really about, data source means any type of information that has all of this data in it. And so creating a data source, for myself, when I was going through this, I went into my Outlook contacts, and I could do one of 2 things. A data source could literally be your contact list, so long as you have Outlook on your computer and where you're doing the mail merge from, it has a connection to that contact list, contact folder. I've also exported my contacts into an Excel folder, an Excel document. So, and there are options to show you how to do that in Outlook, and it's really a simple file, export contact list, and you tell it what type of document you want it to be, and there's where you would choose Excel, and that's when all of the data would be pulled into an Excel spreadsheet. So those are the 2 most common types of data sources. I hope that answers the questions.
Great, thank you.
I see another question here. Can you bring in Outlook records from Outlook 2000? And I would say there's always hesitation going from older versions into newer versions, but in this case, I would, if it was me personally, I would test it with a few. You should have no trouble. Most of the field codes will work, so you'll definitely want to be matching the field codes to make sure that everything matched out okay. My suggestion is, there's no harm in trying it out and checking it out with maybe 2 or 3 contacts or a smaller contact list, and seeing what works. But I recommend that you give it a shot, and I think you will have some success with older versions of Outlook. I personally have had success, so yeah. Yes, the ease of creating mail merge as compared to before. Yes, absolutely. I agree. High five to Microsoft Office for improving things, yes. So if there are no other questions, thank you very much for attending, and I hope this helps you out. Laura, any final words?
No, I'm just going to end the event now, so everybody have a great day.